For this series, we're going to start on your back with your feet up on a bench, box, or maybe even better, a wall, so that your knees, hips, and ankles are all bent 90 degrees. So you want to make sure your knees are directly above your hips, feet are flexed 90 degrees, and you can just settle into this position. While you're here, I just want you to get heavy and start relaxing your exhales and just melting in the ground and feeling where your pelvis and spine align with the floor. And what we're going to do is we're going to work on the position of your pelvis first before we then try to get your leg bones to sit into the back of your hip sockets before we do things like hamstring stretches and hinges. So for now, we're trying to get really good alignment. You can just melt into the floor. Feel like your spine is fully in contact with the ground, and we'll begin with breath before we do some hamstring activation. For your breath, I want you to take your hands and put them on your lower ribs. So basically your fingertips will be touching the front of your ribs, the webs of your hands on the side, thumbs in the back. And we'll just get the breath cycle down first. When you inhale, you're going to inhale fully through your nose, and I want you to feel that that expands in all directions, especially into the sides and back. And you're going to inflate big without using your neck. And then I want you to exhale fully. You can exhale out your mouth. You can purse your lips a little bit to create some resistance, and you breathe out completely until you feel your front ribs close and even the front of your pelvis close. Now on your next inhale, I want you to leave them relatively closed so that more air and more space is created in the sides of your ribs and the back of your ribs. So for now, legs are relaxed. Spine is heavy into the floor. Breath in expands you around that ring, in through your nose. And then the exhale, fire some deep ab muscles to close just the bottom ribs, not crunch your sternum down. And it should also feel like it closes your pelvis a little bit in the front. And I want you to keep a little bit of that ab engagement on your next inhale. Now to get some hamstring activation and to anchor your pelvis, what you're going to do is if you're against a wall, push your heels into the wall slightly. If not, that's okay if you're on a box. And then I want you to drag your heels down. So as your heels come down, you should feel like the top of your hamstrings grab your back pockets and just kind of scoop it under. So it creates a little bit of a pelvic tuck. Doesn't lift you very high off the ground or arch your back at all. And you can even use your hands. I want you to feel the tops of your hamstrings and the bottom of your glutes fired. Now that your pelvis is anchored, I want you to work on that breath even more. So next time you inhale, it's a strong inhale. Inflate all the way as big as you can without those bottom ribs flaring. And then even longer to exhale out pursed lips. Keep trying to get more and more air out. And if possible, you'll even hold empty for a second or two. So you want to feel like that breath goes into your side ribs and back ribs, even between your shoulder blades. It doesn't get into your neck. Your neck is long and relaxed. The exhale's got some effort to it, and it basically lines up those bottom ribs with your pelvis. Your hamstrings are always working to keep that anchor. You can also think that pushing down with your heels is just driving your knees up a tiny bit to get you that little bit of a tuck. Your tailbone might barely hover off the ground, but not too high. We'll go through a couple more breaths. Feel that both hamstrings are working equally. The next time you take a big inhale, you can relax your pelvis back down to the ground. Keep your feet where they are. This time your hands are going to move from your rib cage down to your pelvis. They're going to grab each end of your pelvis, and we're going to do some pelvic rocking here. I want you to use the wall to tuck your pelvis under and feel your low back round one segment at a time. And then you relax it back to the ground, and then you tilt your pelvis and you feel your low back arch one segment at a time. And you're just going to go back and forth, rocking your pelvis and feeling every subtle movement of all the joints of your pelvis and low back, building some awareness for where it is in space, and just feeling that this movement is nice and smooth. And with your hands on either side of your pelvis, you can see if they're moving equally from both sides so that there's no twist. And then you can use your feet against the wall or the box as little or as much as you need to. Finish your next rock, and then we're going to go on to all fours. And now we're going to go into your whole spine. So let's get your shoulders right above your hands with all fingers in the ground and hips right over your knees. I want you to pretend your arms are really long so your whole spine moves away from the floor. You're not collapsed into your shoulder blades, but before you crunch your sternum down. So you're just nice and tall still. And we're going to go through some cat-cows. So you exhale to round your spine or flex your spine. And then you inhale to extend your spine or sag. And you're going to go back and forth with your breath cycle. Try to get to the very end of your inhale and exhale. And just try to create a smooth movement. And when you get to your end position, I want you to feel like that curve is also smooth. So there's no kinks. You don't feel it in one particular area of your spine. And then the last thing I want you to note is that you're not cheating this with your shoulder blades or feeling like you're moving more. So your shoulder blades aren't squeezing together for you to arch your back. You're truly just moving through your upper back. So that's usually the trickiest part. Sometimes it helps to think of making your sternum really long or like opening up your sternum and lifting your head way away from the floor while still pushing into the ground. And the next time you go into a flex position, I want you to hold that flex spine position. From here, we're going to control it segmentally. So what you're going to do is you're going to tip just your pelvis. You're going to think of your belt buckle moving away from you. And you're going to start arching the lowest segment of your low back. And however slow it takes, I want you to go through every one of your segments, one at a time, so it sends a wave up your spine. And you should feel the muscles very locally right at that segment firing until you get to the end and you're fully arched. You can hold for a second, feel like all those segments have extended and you have an equal firing on that back line, and then you do the opposite. Tuck your pelvis, start bringing your belt buckle up towards your throat, and you're going to flex segment by segment, and your head is going to move last, so it doesn't move till the very end. You can just have a normal nasal breath in and out. You don't have to time the inhale with extension or the exhale with flexion. I just wanted you to put all your focus into being able to control and sense where every part of your spine is in space. Once you finish your next wave, we're going to go into standing. And you're going to set up with your feet right under your hips, toes pointed straight forward. And then first get a sense for where your feet are. So you can rock side to side. You can let your foot collapse and come out. I want you to feel equal pressure on the base of your big toe, pinky toe, and the center of your heels. From here, we're going to get all the muscles of your feet working. So you're going to press your big toes into the ground. And you're going to try to hover and lift the other 4 toes up as high as you can and hold. And then put them back down with control and repeat for reps. Just make sure that you're not rolling in on your feet to do this. Even if you intend to move your toes and they don't move, that's fine. Just do your best. And now the next time your 4 toes go down, you're going to keep them down and you're going to try lifting your big toes and placing them back down without losing pressure at the base of the big toe, so without rolling out to the sides. Now all toes are going to come up. You're going to tap your big toes down and up to meet the other 4. Practice tapping the other 4 down, leaving the big toes up and back up. And then the last one we're going to do is keep them all lifted, splay them as much as you can. Try to put your pinkies down first, play the piano with your toes until all toes go into the ground, and then try to shorten the ground a little bit under the arches of your feet. Begin the action of scrunching your toes, hold for a second, and let's do one more rep. So all up, all splayed. Try to go pinky down and play the piano to your big toe. Just do your best. Shorten your arches. Begin scrunching your toes, and then relax. Now from here, with feet rooted, I can show you from the side. What you're going to do is you're going to sit into a squatted kind of like hinge position. So I want you to sit your hips back and then kind of squat, and you can either put your hands right on your knees at the bottom of your thighs or in the front, pressing on your knees so your core is engaged. So I'll face forward. If you two want to face each other, you can be the side profile. So from here, sit into your feet, root your feet, feel your leg bones suck back into your hips, and you're going to do a spinal wave. So you're going to tuck just your pelvis, and then you're going to slowly flex your spine one segment at a time, and it's going to roll up until you don't have max flexion, but just a little bit of flexion, and then you're going to go the other way. Sit your leg bones back and start arching one segment at a time all the way up your back, and you're going to continue those spinal waves while staying strong in this squatted position, almost like a chair pose, and you're going back and forth. So again, you can support yourself while you do this, or you can press into your hands, feel a little bit more core engagement as you do these waves. And really, it's about awareness again and control of all those segments in this position. So it's kind of like a deep hinge into a squat position. Shins are relatively vertical for this one. When you're done the next wave, find center. Dig through your feet, come up momentarily. So we're going to open up your hips and close chain, just meaning your feet are not going to move. They're going to be stuck to the ground. You're going to root again, and from here you're going to do a hip hinge. So you're going to drive your hips back. Feel like your leg bones are equally sucked into the back of your hip sockets. Your heels are heavy right through the center. And now let your whole body weight just start shifting to the right. And basically you're going to either line up with that right foot, or it might even come across towards your midline. And that should feel like this leg bone is driving into the back of your right hip socket. Dig that foot in more, start squeezing that glute and driving this hip forward until it's an extension. Open on the front. Keep squeezing this glute and come across to the other side. Now squeezing your left, open the front of your left hip, and then sit yourself back into that hip hinge. So again, if you're looking at your left foot, it might be in line with your hip, maybe even across through center, keeping your pelvis square, and you just go back and forth in this slow motion. Basically, it's a slow motion hip circle. So it's kind of like just doing one of these, but really fishing around in the corners and feeling loaded and strong through your hip, especially as your stance is on one leg and you sit your way back. Let's just carry on in the same direction. You can have your hands on your pelvis too, like just inside, to feel your pelvis is not moving, and you've got a little bit of pressure or core engagement on the inside of your pelvis as you're going around through this circle. The next time you're in the hinge position, just reinforce that for a second, sit your way back, and let's go to the other side. So you're going to really load to the left, feel that leg bone suck into the hip socket, and then carve out some space in your hips while loaded. You can always start to go a little bit faster if you want, but it's not a momentum hip circle. You really want to feel like you're creating a little bit more extra space than you would normally, and that you can map out and feel the whole range in between. Once you find yourself back in the hinge position, so at center, you can dig in, come up, and then we're going to be down into tall kneeling. So you can have a pad for your knees if you want to. I do want you to feel open through the front of your hips though, and toenails can be down or feet can be flat. So from here, find yourself stacked, head down to knees, squeeze your glutes, push your knees into the ground, feel an opening through your hips. We're going to do your elbows, so your elbow pits face straight forward. And what I want you to do is rotate your forearms as far away from each other as they can get, and then squeeze your way up. Keep squeezing as you rotate internally, and then press your palms down. And as you're pressing down, you're still trying to rotate. And then you go again, rotating out, squeezing up, right into almost like a bicep cramp. Keep it cramped as you rotate and press into almost a tricep cramp, And then let's go the other direction. So palms are facing down as you come up, rotating, still trying to rotate as you press down, really going through the full range of movement of your elbows. When you finish this next rep, you're gonna go forearms 90 degrees parallel to the ground, and I want you to trace wrist circles. Pretend there's a little resistance in the air. Watch that your forearms aren't rotating because that means it's coming from the elbow. You're still pushing through your feet, through your knees, open through the front of your hips. Being mindful not to push through any pinches of your wrists. And let's go the other direction at a consistent cadence the whole time. Nice. Now, with wrists warmed up, we're gonna go into like a low lunge. So you might need a couple blocks or one block and a pad for your knee, but the position looks like this. So use something for your knee if you need to, and if going too low is too hard, you can use a block, but make sure it's nice and comfortable. So we're just gonna spend a second in this position with right leg forward, left leg bent. Now to begin with, let's get that stack. So you wanna feel your head and rib cage and pelvis all in line. You can do a strong exhale, a bit of a push through the ground to get your ribs in the right place. Think of tucking your pelvis under a little bit so there's no cheat, and then squeeze that glute, high hamstring, low glute. Think of opening the front of your hip and leaving it open. Now that that is passively stretching, your right hand's a knife edge. Keep your chest facing straight forward, and you're gonna trace a big circle with your right hand. So you're reaching forward and up, imagining there's resistance in the air. Rotate in the shoulder socket so your palm and bicep are moving away from your ear, and then swim your way back, again, pretending there's resistance in the air and making it equally hard all the way through. And you're continually internally rotating the shoulder as you come around. So you should finish with palm facing out or back, and let's go the other way. So open through your collarbone, push the air back behind you, rotate in the shoulder socket, come all the way around. And when you get to the starting position, just take a half second to push through the ground through all contact points, squeeze your glute, find more tension in your body, and let's do one more. Good. Hand goes to the ground, and you're going to switch sides. So you can always just switch right here. You can push into a downward dog and bring your left foot outside your left hand. Take a second to maybe tuck your pelvis a bit, squeeze that right glute, open up the right hip, push all contact points to the ground, find tension in your body and through the air. Let's go through the left side. So it's going up, rotating in the socket, really swimming, reaching all the way around. And I want you to imagine there's a light or something shining from the center of your chest right down to one point on the floor. Whatever point that is, make sure it doesn't move. It's going to shine there the whole time. So there's no big rotation through your chest. It's staying straight forward as you go through these rotations. Once you're done, you can shift into all fours, or you can go back just into one more downward dog as a bit of a reset. But either way, we're back to all fours now, and we're gonna go through your shoulder blades. So set up, find your spine far away from the floor again, all fingertips in the ground, and elbows will be locked out completely. Start by lifting your shoulder blades up your back. So you're really making your sides long, and when they can't get any higher, you're going to start gliding them together along your rib cage without your spine moving, letting them glide down your back, and then pressing the floor away, or think of widening your back without rounding, and then go again. So rib cage is motionless, spine is motionless, and you're gliding your shoulder blades around your rib cage through the biggest range of motion you can control. Head stays still, elbows stay locked out. Let's go the other direction. Let's find center now. So somewhere in the middle, not shrug, not pull down aggressively, but still pushing through the ground, and you're gonna move through your neck. So chin is gonna tuck into throat. down to collarbone. You're going to rotate to the right. You're going to look over that right shoulder. You're going to side bend. Just be careful of any pinches. Looking up and around, and you're going to go all the way through a full, slow, controlled neck circle. Now looking over your left, chin to left edge of your collarbone, scraping to center and going the other direction. When you get to the start, you're going to do one more. You want to feel strong and stable through your shoulder blades while you're doing this. Good. And now we're going to try to get into the back of your hip capsule. So from this position, what you're going to do is left leg is going to go straight and your right foot is going to turn in just a little bit, maybe so that this foot is in line with your knee. And then you're going to come down to your forearms. So you can see that my weight is right up over this knee. It's not really folded back like a pigeon stretch. And then with this right leg straight, I just want you to, this right arm straight, I just want you to melt into this stretch. So take some long exhales and feel like this leg bone is sucking back into the hip socket. So you're breathing in for about 4 seconds, you're exhaling for 6 to 8 seconds, and you're letting this just suck back and make a little extra space in the back of your right hip. You want to make sure there's no movement of your pelvis or rib cage. And once you have a sense for that, it's a little bit more subtle than a pigeon. Now you can start to rock back a little bit. So just keeping this knee loaded, sit back into your hip. So you're rocking your bum back a few inches and then forward, and just kind of fish around, making a little bit of extra space. Play with the angles a little bit so you can rock to the outside, to the right, without unloading that knee. And then you can play with different angles and semicircles. But all the while, you're just like melted into the floor, especially on this knee. That right arm is straight only so that you can feel long in that side. Find where it feels the tightest. Just hang out there for 1 sec. Deep inhale, long relaxed exhale, get heavier. Maybe do that one more time, and then you're going to switch sides. So to set you up, if you've begun on all fours, you want to get that nice stacked position. Right leg goes straight. This will rotate in just a little bit, and then you're going to come down to forearms, and left arm goes straight. Take a couple breaths where you're breathing in through your nose for 4, a relaxed but extended exhale for 6 to 8. Just feel like you keep getting heavier on this knee, making sure that the right side of your pelvis is not open. It's level. Once you've settled in, now you can begin to introduce some movement as long as you feel like you're continually loading this posterior part of your hip capsule. So it's little rocks back. And you don't have to have this foot rotated as far. It can be just a subtle rotation. You can even bring that back foot across a little bit. Eventually you start to make it your own, so you find what angle feels like it's the most restricted, or that at least it's loading this area the most. Little circles, diagonals. Find the tightest area, hold it. Take a nice expansive nasal breath in, and then a long extended exhale, but just relaxed. One more breath. And then we're going to go back to all fours. We're just going to keep working the hip capsule. So from here, find that same position, pushing through all fingertips, nice and straight through your spine, not crunched or sagged. Your right foot's going to come off the ground, just to give yourself room to clear the left. You can even flatten the left, and you're going to do a hip swivel or a little windshield washer. So you're going to rotate axially in that hip socket back and forth, pretending there's resistance through the whole range, but also trying to get to the very end before your pelvis moves and maybe holding it, getting another tiny bit extra room as you go side to side. So it's just the ball axially rotating in the hip socket, not moving the pelvis. not weight shifting. Once you're even, that foot can come down, the other foot comes up. Let's do the same thing. You want to feel relatively active through your whole body, so hands are gripping the floor, arms are straight, pushing through the floor, a little bit of core engagement and pressure, length through your spine. And then once your sides are even, now you can be on your back. Before you go to your back, just make sure you have a band, like a fat band, handy, or a strap, or a belt, or anything you can use for a hamstring stretch. We won't do that right away. So we're gonna be lying flat on your back. This band's gonna be within reach. And we're gonna do knee and ankle cars before we go and work on your hamstrings. So before we even do that, let's just set up on the floor in the right position first. So an extended exhale, again, to bring just those lowest ribs down and get a mild contraction of these deep ab muscles before it pulls your sternum down, so your sternum still stays lifted and long. A slight tuck of your pelvis. And now that you have that alignment, what I want you to do is slowly straighten your left leg on the floor. So that way it's gonna open up through the front of your left hip before it tips your pelvis. Once you've got that, then you bring your right leg up and you're gonna grab your hamstring with your two hands. Leg is relatively straight. You're gonna point your toes to the right by rotating axially from the shin, and then you're gonna flex at the knee, bringing the outside edge of your foot down, squeezing outside of calf to outside of hamstring. Rotate your shin bone towards midline, so toes are facing inwards to the left, and you go straighten, or near straight. And then you repeat, so it rotates out, flexes down, rotates in, straightens. When you get to the top, let's go opposite direction. So inside edge of your foot comes down first, squeezes as you rotate, and straightens. It's the same as the elbow rotations we did. Let's do one more. The next time your leg is relatively straight, find a little bit more tension through your core, like you're about to do a dead bug or a core drill, and then trace big circles through your ankle. Imagine the tips of your toes are drawing the biggest and smoothest circle you can draw, but challenging the edges of the circle the whole time, looking for shaky bits and then smoothing them out. Try the other direction. Good, let's do the same thing on the other side. So you can set up feet standing on the ground, knees bent. Find that position, your sacrum is flat to the ground, then straighten your right leg without it tipping your pelvis. And then once it's resting and that hip's open, grab the back of your left thigh, start relatively straight with that leg, foot flexed and toes point out to the left. Now you're gonna squeeze your way down, rotate through the shin to face your toes towards your midline to straighten. Let's go through another rotation. So pinky side of your foot leads the way. And then we'll go the other way. So big toe, inside edge of your foot now leads the way. When you get back to the starting position with leg relatively straight, more core tension, more length through your spine. Now trace out big circles with your ankles. Trying to be consistent with that cadence, that speed throughout the whole rotation. Challenging the edges of that circle and smoothing out anything that shakes. Other direction. Good. So that foot can come down. So we've gone through all our joints and we've done a bit for your pelvis and to load the back of your hip. Now we're going to get into hamstrings and hip flexion. So let's do the same thing where you find your sacrum flat, spine's relatively flat to the floor, and you straighten that left leg and reach it nice and long. So this hip is opening while we work on the right. Now what you're going to do is you're going to bring your right knee up so it's in line with your pelvis. And I want you to slowly find the limit of your hip flexion, just meaning you're going to slowly bring your knee up into your chest, feeling like it's coming from the hip and not from the pelvis and low back, and find the limit of your range. If you've got a pinch in your hip, you can just double check that you're tucked enough through your pelvis, you haven't tipped your pelvis. The other thing you can do is if you still have a pinch, you can let your knee fall slightly to the outside, or you can just stay shy of that pinch, because we're going to basically be building strength in this range anyways. We're not going to hold the stretch too long. While you're here, let's just do one more relaxed breath. In for about 4 seconds, out for 6 to 8. Just let this range settle in. And now we're going to do some isometric contractions. So pressurize your midsection, take an inhale into your belly, exhale, think of packing that air in. Find a lot of tension or irradiation in the rest of your body, flexing your left foot, every muscle's engaged. And now I want you to slowly resist this stretch. So your hands are going to push your knee into your chest more, but your knee is going to push back into your hands. And think of it like a dimmer switch. Like start very light, like a 1 out of 10 effort. Feel your glute contract, maybe your hamstring a bit, and then turn that dial up. So you're just amplifying that contraction, not losing the tension in the rest of your body, building slowly to the greatest, safest effort you have, and then holding. Spine still long, every other muscle engaged. As long as this feels good, I want you to ramp up to your max effort and hold that max effort. And now slowly relax. So that same dimmer switch is going to turn down slow, just in the thigh. The rest of your body stays tight. Just the thigh relaxes. See if you can bring the knee closer to your chest without any pinches. And now very slowly let go of this knee. One finger at a time, you're going to release. You're going to be contracted through your hip flexors, your low abs, making sure that this knee does not pull away. And then you let go completely and hold. So your whole body's tight, your hands can press into the ground, your left heel can press into the ground, and you're trying to squish an imaginary object between your thigh and your abdomen. And you might even feel a cramp here. Keep working at it. Make sure you're not crunching your spine. That's staying long and straight. Another 3, 2, 1. Relax. Grab that knee. See if you can just settle in a bit closer to your body. And then what you're going to do is you're going to grab your band or your strap or belt, whatever it is you're going to use for that hamstring stretch, and you're going to wrap it around your right foot. And you're just going to go into like a medium hamstring stretch. So what you want to feel is you want to feel the middle of your hamstring. You don't want to feel a tug at the back of your knee. So everybody's going to look a little bit different. You might have a subtle bend in your knee. You might have a really big bend in your knee with a lot of hip flexion. So find where your angles and how far into this range gets you that medium stretch in the middle of your hamstring. Once you've got it, we'll just take a breath or two here again to let this settle in, but it's more about building strength and control here for us for today. So big breath in for about 4, long, relaxed, 6 to 8 second exhale. And we're going to do the same exact thing we did with hip flexion. We're going to start with core tension. Breath in, pack that air down, leave it packed here as you breathe through it. Let that tension irradiate through the rest of your body. Now that everything is tight, I want you to resist this stretch very gently at first. So you think of driving your heel down to the ground, basically extending your hip, and you also think of beginning the action of knee flexion. And so if you get those two things to fire, you should feel, or those two things working, you should feel everything fire through your whole hamstring, maybe glute a little bit, and then now turn that tension up. Resist the band more, resist the strap more, build to your greatest, safest effort, not compromising your alignment or the rest of your body tension, and hold that effort. You might get a shaking leg, and that's fine. Slowly relax that effort. Keep core tension, body tension. Now go the other way. Try to drive your own foot up over your head. The band can help a little bit or not at all, but I want you thinking of basically accessing your own range of motion through your hip actively. So again, this band can help just enough so that you are at your end range, or if you are at your end range, then don't use the band at all and keep working at it. Greatest, safest effort. Hold for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Let it settle in. Couple relaxed breaths again before we go right back to work. And let's get rid of the band. So to show you really quick, we're going to do it slower, but really quickly, the next one is we're going to go from max hip flexion to a straight leg kind of hamstring stretch. So we're going to do something called a knee hinge where it looks like this. But the whole time you're going through the range, you're working to keep this knee as far up as you can, or this thigh as close to your chest as possible. So we're connecting the 2 points. So let's start knee into chest with knee bent. Core pressure and tension, body tension. Slowly let go of this knee, 1 finger at a time. And then hands placed to the ground, left heel digs to the ground. You should feel this hip flexor working, maybe your low abs. Keep it working while you slowly straighten your knee. And while you're straightening, you're trying to keep your thigh driving up into flexion. Get as high as you can, and now slowly start flexing your knee. But as you flex your knee, you're still trying to pull your knee into your chest. Your knee's gonna come a little bit closer, and then you straighten again. And as you straighten, it might pull away, but you're actively trying to keep it as close as possible and flex. And just keep going back and forth. You can go at whatever pace makes sense for you, but in terms of focus, get your alignment, that stacked position and core tension working for you first, then body tension, and then really pretend the air is thick and there's a lot of resistance through this movement. And so you're not just working at the end points where your leg is straight and bent, you're really working the whole way in between. You should also feel like the front of your left hip is open throughout. Good. So whatever rep you're on, you're going to finish with that rep. That foot can go down to the ground. You take a second to reset your position. Then right leg is going to straighten, and we're going to do the whole sequence again on your left. So now left knee goes into chest. Couple breaths to settle in. Make sure you didn't bring your pelvis with it. Your pelvis stayed relatively still. You just moved through the hip socket. So if you're at your end range and you don't have any pinches, we're going to start with our strength building or isometrics. So core pressure, body tension and irradiation. Gently resist this stretch. Your hands are trying to push your knee in further. Your knee is going to resist back against it. Start with a 1 out of 10. Build your way up. As you're building, make sure it doesn't change the sensation, just amplifies it. You didn't lose tension in the rest of your body. Up to your greatest, safest effort, and hold. Keep your focus for another 5. Keep pushing. 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep your body tight, but slowly relax that hip. Slowly relax your hands. Use your hands to bring your knee closer to your chest. And now 1 finger at a time, you're going to let go of that knee, and you don't want any lag. You want to see that that knee pulls away as little as possible, if at all. Once all your hands come off and you're locked in, they can press into the ground. Your right heel can press into the ground, and you're going to hold this effort. So it's you're like in a maximum sprint or something. This is driving down. This thigh is flexing in. Your spine's still tall. Core tension. Hands pushing in for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax everything. Let that knee settle into your chest. Then you're going to grab a band or strap. We're going to do an isometric at the other end of the knee hinge. Just make sure it feels good and it's in the middle of your hamstring. So however much you need, again, to bend your knee for that to happen and flex, it could look literally like this might be yours. You might be pretty straight leg. Take a second to find that range, that sweet spot. Once you're there, do a couple relaxed breaths. Run through your position again from the crown of your head down to your pelvis. You should feel long through your neck. Most of your back in contact with the ground, sacrum flat. Now, pressurize your midsection. Tension your whole body. Resist this stretch very light at first. Feel that the muscles that are on stretch are starting to contract. You imagine you're driving your heel down with a straight leg, but then also trying to bend your knee all at the same time. Feel every possible tissue you can fire on the back of your thigh. And once you got that, ramp it up to your greatest, safest effort and hold. Strong effort for another 5, 4, 3, 2. Now keep your body tight still. Just slowly turn that switch down on your hamstring until it's relaxed, but the rest of your body's still working, and then you're going the other way now. You're going to try to drive that left foot up over your head. The band will just assist a little. It assists as much as it needs to so that you're at your end range. So if you don't need the band at all and you're at your end range, then that's great. If you need it a little bit just to get you there, as long as you feel like this hip flexor now is working so that you're able to pull yourself and access the full range you have in your hip and hamstring. Hold for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly relax. Relax the rest of your body. Stack your spine again. Take a nice deep inhale. Relaxed exhale, let that air fall out of you for 6 to 8 seconds. Now the band can come off and off to the side, and we'll connect those 2 points with a knee hinge. So knee comes into chest, sacrum's flat, lowest ribs are down, everything else is tall and lifted. Find your end range, and let's slowly pressurize and tension your body. And now let go of that knee, one finger at a time, and feel like you're really working to keep this thigh where it is. Now you're gonna slowly start to straighten that knee while continually trying to drive that thigh up into your chest. And then you're gonna flex the knee. And as you flex, you're still pulling up. So it's equally hard through this whole hinge, and you keep going. Make sure you still feel that core tension. It's like all the contact points or all the points of your back are in contact with the floor and pushing into the floor. You're trying to make your spine really long. Every muscle's engaged, all trying to help out in terms of tension. And this whole movement you want to feel resisted from full knee flexion and full hip flexion into nearly straight leg. And wherever you are, let's just do one more or finish off the rep that you're on. And relax. All right, now let's take this to standing. So we're gonna stand. You are probably gonna need a dowel. You don't always necessarily need one for most of this. But we're gonna do this actively now. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take a step forward with your right leg. We're gonna start with the right one. I want you to get very light on this back leg, like it's just a kickstand for you, and feel all your weight up on equally this right heel, base of your big toe and base of pinky toe. Feel like your spine is nice and stacked, and let's do a single leg kind of staggered hinge. So I want you to start sitting your hip back and feeling that center of your heel still in the ground and loading your hip and hamstring. And then you're gonna come back up. So that's the movement. Now we're gonna do it kinetically, and we're gonna do eccentrics. So for a kinetic, you're gonna pull yourself down and push yourself out. So as you're coming down, I want you to feel your hip flexor fire, and it's like you're shortening this area, and you're pulling your own leg bone back. So it's like the drill where we had the band around your foot, and you're trying to hold your foot up. So you're feeling yourself pull, 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 pull. Spine is still straight. Now switch from a pull to a push. So dig your heel in, feel your glute and hamstring fire, and fire that harder and harder to get yourself out. Squeeze tight, open this hip up in the front, and let's pull down again. So hip flexors shortening, you're pulling your leg bone back into the back corner of your hip socket, which we opened, and then also stretching through this back line. Hold for a second in a pull, push through the ground, contract all those long tissues, and come out. And you're gonna keep doing that. So this is what a kinetic stretch is. Not using momentum or gravity, accessing your own range of motion with your own muscles, and then firing the opposing muscles to contract and shorten and get you out of that range. We'll do one more. We'll give this side a break while we do the other side. So you're going to step forward with your left, root that foot, feel all those contact points, back leg's a kickstand, start in a stacked position. Now pull yourself down. So you can think of your hips sitting back. As long as it doesn't load this back leg, when you get to the bottom, hold for a second while pulling. So there's this isometric. Now push in, fire the opposite, and let that contract and shorten and pull yourself back up to this stacked position and repeat. So I want to get about 4 to 5 reps here. Go at whatever pace you need to. You can carry on once I'm done to equal the reps on your other side. And so for this one, you don't always need a dowel. You can use it just for balance and to take a little bit of load off your back, but you can always do this just freestanding. Good. Now we're going to go back to that right leg forward, and now what we're going to do is an eccentric. So we're going to fire the muscles on the back, and we're going to try to lengthen it. If you think of your bicep, basically we're going to be short and tight, and then keeping it short and tight, we're going to go try to lengthen, and then we're going to relax at the bottom and just come back up. So you're in the same exact position, the movement looks the same, it's just what you're contracting is different. So start by pushing your foot through the ground and see if you can squeeze this glute and hamstring, like feel it all engaged as if it doesn't want to stretch. Now leave it engaged while you stretch it. So you're slowly going down. It's the opposite. Instead of firing your hip flexor, you're firing all through your glute and hamstring, this whole back line of your thigh. Keep firing it and see how long it can get while engaged. And when you get to the bottom, relax, use the dowel, and push yourself up. So then your leg's not doing anything. Let's do that again. Engage, get everything nice and tight, everything nice and tall. Basically the max tension and effort that still feels safe. Load that up. Relax, come back up. And this next one, we're going to take 10 seconds to go down, and we're going to hold an isometric for 10 seconds. So stack yourself, engage, and let's go down for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold at the bottom, digging in and firing all this for 10 seconds. Say another 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax that thigh, use your arm to come up, and switch sides. We'll do the same thing. Up over left, everything's stacked. Dig this foot in the ground, feel your hamstring fire as if it doesn't want to stretch. Now start seating yourself into your hip and stretching that hamstring while engaged, really slowly feeling the whole range, but strong through that whole range. And then relax it, use the dowel, come up. Again, charge up, and like it's a max effort lift, or like you got a lot of weight on your back. If you get to the bottom, hold for a second till we're all there. Relax, come up. Last one. As much tension as you can muster up, and down for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 10, 9, 8. Keep going. You should have a slight knee bend, whatever angle you had when you had the band on, so it's more middle hamstring. Say another 3, 2, 1. Relax. Push through the dowel. Come up, and then dowel can go away. So I'll show you a front view of this next one. Basically, we're going to go back into a strong single leg or stance, stagger stance hinge, and then we're going to work on rotation of your hips, which is also going to load the back of your hip sockets. So let's go right leg forward again, up onto the pads of your left feet, or your left foot, or the toes, and now let's sit into a hinge. And you don't have to go all the way. Find like that 30-degree, 45-degree angle. Now make sure that your torso stays here, it doesn't start rising, and you can always feel the center of your heel. Now what I want you to do is let this left pelvis start to pull forward. You can think of reaching that hand forward. And what it does is sucks this leg bone into the back of the hip socket, but you want to feel like you've pulled yourself there, like your right groin muscle is active to pull you into your hip, but you've stayed center, you've just rotated. Then you dig in the ground and you open that pelvis up. And then you don't have to open up all the way, and then you're going to come back. So you're driving down, hamstring glutes are engaged, you're pulling with your groin to sit into the back of your hip, you're digging in, you're coming out, and then you can start to speed up that movement a little bit, but it basically is this movement here, but it's done kinetically, meaning you've pulled yourself in and you've squeezed yourself out. Find that you don't start sitting up. You also want to make sure you don't fall back onto that back foot and start using it. And you're also not loading the toes too much in the front leg. You still feel the center of your heel. You should feel it really start to burn all through that area in your hip. You're rotating your pelvis on top of that ball of your leg bone. Okay, find center, dig in, come up, and let's go to the other side. So right foot's back, you're in a staggered stance, you're stacked. Find your hinge position, which means once your hip stops traveling back, that's the end. Hardly any weight on the back leg. Dig in, fire glute and hamstring. Use your groin to pull your pelvis forward. You can think of a reach with the opposite hand. I want you to feel this line firing to suck that hip in. Now squeeze that glute, work those lateral parts of your glute to rotate out, and then back in. So it's up to you if you're going to reach or not, or hold your pelvis. And then keep checking in. You're not falling onto this back foot and using it. You're very heavy on the front. Core's engaged, spine is long, you're breathing into those back ribs. You can hold the end positions if you want, like take a second to pull in more, reach more, as long as you're not shifting to the side. It's just more about rotating your pelvis over the top of that leg bone. Once you get to center, come up. Just taking a little break while we do one more and then hold the position. So let's go back into it, right leg forward, let's go right in, sit into that hinge, reach your left hand, pull into that hip, punch that right leg through the floor, and you're going to hold this position. If you want, your right hand can go on your low ribs, spine is nice and tall. When you breathe in big and expand your back ribs. And as you exhale, push all that air out, reach further and pull the hip back further. Keep trying to find more space in the back of your hip. So you breathe in, fills in those back ribs. You exhale, reach, keep sucking that leg bone back. Make sure you're not shifted too much. You're still like centered. You are rotated though. Let's take one more breath and back up. One more time. Last time before we leave your hips alone, at least in flexion. So stacked and hinged. Push through the ground, activate everything, rotate this hip forward and reach with that hand and take big breaths. So you're breathing in. Because of that reach, it's going to breathe into your back ribs a little bit more. And as you exhale, it's going to close the front ribs. This reach helps you pull back more with the left leg. You want to feel like you've loaded the back of your left hip, but you're working this inner line as well. And because of this position and the drive down, your glutes and hamstrings on the left are also working. Full exhales right to empty, nice and strong. Back leg is light. One more, and back up. Nice. Okay, so we're pretty open in the back of the hips. We're just going to try to balance it by opening through the front of your hips. What we're going to do is get into the couch stretch. You can do this against a wall. You can also do it against like a chair or couch as well. But you want something soft for your knees if your knees are sensitive in this position. And you've got 2 blocks, or ideally you've got 2 blocks or books, and a dowel as an option. You'll see what makes sense for you as we get there. So what we're going to do is start with your right knee against the wall and vertical. So if you can, you're going to go straight up against the wall so you can feel full contact. If this is impossible, then you can just come out a little bit like Joel's doing, or you can go right against it like Hannah. Now, the first thing you want to do before you get into any stretch, though, is get your position right, like through your ribs and your pelvis. So low ribs close with an exhale, and you get a little bit of a tuck with your pelvis. Once you have that, then I want you to think of pushing your pelvis forward. So now you're into a hip flexor stretch. If you can, then you start to increase the angle, but you don't want to feel like it tips your pelvis in any way or it loses that stack position. So that's where these blocks can get handy. They can like have you sit up just a little bit more. Eventually you can get to a point where this knee comes up and then you find whatever angle makes sense while it still feels like the front of your hip is opening and it's also globally stretching through your quad. Now you want to be as comfortable as can be here so you can relax, and then you also have the dowel if you come right up. Okay, this is mostly going to be a relaxed position to balance things out. So you want to breathe in deep for 4 again, approximately. And then a long, relaxed exhale for 6 to 8. And as you're exhaling, feel like this hip is starting to just push open in a very like relaxed way, nothing too aggressive where you feel like you have to fight it. Another thing you can think of is every exhale, try to get that tuck of your pelvis again. So you're just checking that you haven't tipped your pelvis forward or flexed your hip back. So you're always trying to lengthen the line from your knee up to, let's say, the top of your pelvis. So you're going to be here for a little while. Make sure you're comfortable. And then this stretch can also be done in isolation outside the series at any time. And the more you have hand support, the more you should feel like this can relax this back leg. It doesn't have to fight so hard to keep you upright. And you can really just like melt into it. And you don't always have to go fully upright either. The more forward you are, the more gravity actually helps to open the front of your hip. The more upright you are, the more it gets into your quad. Take a couple more deep breaths here. Now we're going to do a little contraction. So start with a core contraction, maybe a tuck of your pelvis again, length through your spine, and I just want you to feel that top of your hamstring low glute we've been working on contract. And once you feel like that glute can contract and open up your hips, you're just going to hold it. We don't have to build to our greatest, safest effort for this one. So whatever effort feels really good, just ensuring that you are able to contract those tissues from this position. Now slowly relax your glute, let that hip open up even more. Take a breath in, an extended exhale. One more breath if you want to, and then we can switch sides. So I'm going to start off in the lowest position, which you should too, to make sure you get your stack in pelvis. So you're not so driven to come upright right away. Now once you've got that and you feel like your hip is opening, then you start to straighten yourself. So you've got your stack, pelvic tuck, open through the front of your hip. You just come up to wherever you can get to. So even if it looks like this, or even lower. Now you're right back to that passive style of breathing. In for about 4 seconds, out for 6 to 8. That exhale, you're not forcing for 6 to 8, you're just relaxing into it. You're letting that air go out. Imagine that your inhale is lengthening you, it's creating space in that hip. And then as you exhale, you're letting that hip melt open and maybe tucking your pelvis. Again, you can hold this one for as long as you want. You can pause and hold longer. Just pick an effort that doesn't feel like you're fighting and dying to get out right away. This is your opportunity to get some good breaths in. So in through your nose, feel expansion in those low ribs into the back ribs, in between your shoulder blades. And then extended exhales. You can feel those just bottom ribs close a little bit, get a little bit of ab engagement. And those extended exhales and those longer breath cycles will help you to relax. So you're welcome to hold this as long as you want. We're going to go into the contractions at this point though. So you're squared up, get a little bit of core tension, reinforce that stacked position, and now I just want you to contract your glute. Think of squeezing your glute. Sometimes it helps to think of pushing your knee down, maybe pushing your knee back as if you're striding forward, or you can just grab with your hand, feel top of hamstring, low part of glute fire as if it's anchoring you down, anchoring your pelvis. Hold that contraction. Now slowly relax that contraction until everything melts. As long as you got your stack position, let's take a couple breaths. And then slowly come out of this. And you can move away from the wall. You could use the wall and box if you're unable to grab your foot. You'll see once we get started, but it's not important that you do. We're going to go back into this low lunge type position where we did our shoulder rotations. So let's go right knee down. So go back into opening the right hip. So tuck, stack, come down. Right hand's going to go to the ground or to a block. Same setup as before. Instead of a shoulder car, we're going to do a full windmill. So what that looks like is you would inhale, get nice and tall, you reach forward, but then you're going to open your chest up and you're going to rotate through your whole back as you reach into this windmill position. So a big sweeping circle, and then if you can, you grab that back foot. If you can't, that's fine. If you're up against the bench, then you can also use that bench. So you're either in a full windmill like this, or you're including your quad. So you pick whatever version makes sense for you. Now the right hip is relaxing down to the ground. The tension in your quad and hip is helping to open up your chest. And then you're just going through breath cycles here. So you breathe in deeply, expand your ribs. As you exhale, get all that air out. You can push that exhale a little bit stronger until you feel a complete empty, and then repeat. So instead of a relaxed breathing style, it's a little bit more challenging. Challenging the inhale, trying to get as much expansion as you can, and then really exhaling out pursed lips even if you want, and feeling deep abs contract, low ribs close, pelvis closes. No crunching though. One more breath. That foot can come down. You can windmill all the way back. You can transition through a downward dog like we did at the beginning, or just switch sides. However you get there, again, try to get a stacked position. Get that hip under your ribs, open things up. Then instead of a shoulder car, you do a full windmill. Palm is now facing out the whole time. You're reaching back to the back leg. If you can't grab it, then you're doing an active reach. Still letting this glute squeeze and push down, and if you can grab your foot, you grab with palm facing out, just nicer on the shoulder. And now you're holding this position. So you should feel that this quad is being stretched, this left hip flexor is being stretched, you're rotating through your upper back, your collarbone is wide and lifted, you breathe in, you create expansion of all your ribs, and then you exhale, and you learn to close just the bottom ribs and pelvis from this position. You keep some of that ab engagement on your next inhale. You let go and windmill out. Nice work. Let's do some breath work to finish. So you're going to be on your back, whatever position's comfortable. You could have your feet up on the box if you want to. Kind of keeps you in a nice stacked position again, or just knees bent, feet on the ground. And what we're going to do is we're going to do maximum exhales. So all the effort for this is put into the exhale. You exhale so much that when you relax, your body will just naturally inhale. because that exhale will stretch out your diaphragm completely and like so much that, again, when you just fully relax, it's going to go back to a resting position and take air in. So you can do a practice one where you breathe all that air out and you keep trying to breathe more and more and more until you think you're fully empty, and then fully relax and see how that air comes back in. It should just come back in relatively quick if you're doing it right. Okay, so let's set up. Let's take one deep inhale in through your nose, and now strong exhale. Breathe all that air out. Keep trying to get more. You'll feel your ribs close. You'll feel your pelvis close. You can even fire your pelvic floor, squeeze everything tight, get a little bit more air out. Now full relax. Max exhale. Relaxed in. Max out. Relaxed in. Max out. Empty, empty, empty. Relaxed in. And one more. Max breath out. Keep going. You can think of your spine being tall, sternum still staying relatively lifted, but those ribs will eventually close down to get more air out. You'll feel your pelvis close. You can pull your belly button to your spine slightly, fire your pelvic floor, almost like you're gonna cough and get just a little bit more air out. And now do a max inhale. So inhale as big as you can. Keep going like a balloon. I want you to feel those ribs all separate and expanding. Now when you can't take in any more air, sip in a little bit more, sip in a little bit more, and now hold. And you're holding that full expansion now. So at this point, diaphragm is completely contracted, but ribs, your rib cage as a whole is as big as possible. Each individual rib is separated, especially into those back ribs, into those side ribs. You can imagine you're still trying to breathe in. If you feel you need to let go, you can let go at any point. Hold big for another 10 seconds if you can. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. And then you're going to resume deep nasal breathing. In for 5, out for 5. Take a relaxed 5 breaths, and then you're finished.